The Secrets of TV is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit GiveStarQuest.com. You're listening to The Secrets of Television. Hi, I'm Don Bettinelli, and on The Secrets of TV, we take a closer look at the stories behind the stories, exploring the themes, characters, and hidden meanings in the shows everyone's watching and the classics worth remembering. And this time, we're discussing Monarch Season 2, Separate Ways. Joining me today is Jeff Haecker. Hey, Jeff.
Hey, Dom.
Patrick is off on Skull Island looking for Kong or something along that. He might be in Nexus Monday for all I know at this point. So, folks, be sure to follow The Secrets of Television on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, TuneIn, your favorite podcast app, or at the StarQuest YouTube channel, youtube.com/StarQuest Media, where you should always like, comment, subscribe, and do the YouTubey things. All right, let me give a recap of this episode. Very action-packed. Lee Shaw drives through the Australian dunes on the coast, it's northwest, right? Got to write that down.
Sure.
Some coast of Australia. You just imagine it. Toward Titan X, who is thrashing on the beach, as you do. The Secretary of Defense, the American Secretary of Defense, tells Monarch Director Barris that the military plans to nuke it within hours. Titan X left its migration route to reach a nesting site that now holds a massive egg. Meanwhile, May visits Brenda at a secret Monarch facility in an undisclosed location to learn what's happening with Isabel and Kentaro. Kate, Keiko, and Kentaro fly to to Australia, the Australian coast, by helicopter as Godzilla approaches, called by Lee. Kate confronts Titan X and starts to understand why it came ashore. Lee arrives had already arrived. I get my stuff out of order here. Had already arrived, used Suzuki's machine to draw Godzilla in to fight Titan X and kill it. Kate realizes that Titan X is guarding the egg it just laid. Kentaro secretly calls Isabel, betraying the group and setting up a chain reaction. Once Simmons' men steal the egg, Godzilla and Titan X collide in an all-out battle that will spill into the next episode, presumably. All right, so let's talk about this one. Jeff, what'd you think of this episode?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. It's, this is the third to last episode, so we're really kind of gearing up for the finale. And like you said, this is kind of almost a part 1 of 3 to kind of gear up for that, because it ends on the big action scene of finally getting some Titan action that we haven't had a lot of this season thus far. We've had a little bit, of course, with Titan X roaming around in the scares, but we haven't had a full-on Titan battle, really. Yeah. So
just the initial one when he showed up at Skull Island with Kong, which lasted very little time.
Yeah. And that one wasn't even really a battle. It was Titan X trying to escape, and it did. Yeah. So I like that. It also kind of sets Apex up as really the villains of this story. We already kind of knew they were, but this is like solidifying it, because they're stealing an egg. They're trying to go against what Monarch is doing. And some of them get their comeuppance for doing that in some atomic breath from Godzilla. So so I thought it was a nice kind of setup to as we kind of get geared toward the finale. But yeah, it was kind of like I'd already watched the season, so I know what happens, but I was like, when I paused it at the end of the fight, I was like, oh man, I want to keep going, but for the sake of the podcast, I held off. So right, yeah. But it is nice that we're finally getting some, because you come to these movies, you want to see big monsters fight each other, and we're finally getting that. So I think but it was a very good episode, I think.
I liked it. It had both the monster on monster action, and it had the human element going on as well. Love, betrayal, of various kinds, and so peril, and pathos. So it was all very interesting, very good. And like you said, we're gearing up for this high energy final 2 episodes that we're going to end up within. Spoilers. We're going to get plenty of monster versus monster action in the last 2 episodes as well, or at least one of the 2 episodes. So that should be a lot of fun. Although this is the last we see of Godzilla this season, right? Pretty sure.
Yeah, because they go back to as Skull Island, and
Godzilla goes back to take his nap.
Yeah, he goes back to nap.
Nighty night. Woke me up. That's how I am when the kids wake me up. Breathe my hot radioactive breath. So some getting into the story itself, seeing Titan X is kind of like a big sea turtle. The sea turtles come up on land to lay their egg, and that's what Titan X is doing. I thought it was really interesting how it was like so rapidly regrowing its limb there on the beach as the scarabs were building this kind of shelter cage around the egg to protect it. It was like, I thought it was interesting. I think there was some clever world building going on in that imagination for it. Although it does raise a question: who's Daddy Titan?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if it's one of those things. So we don't know if the egg is a fertilized egg, or if it's if it has to be fertilized by another Titan, by the male counterpart, or if it's if it's one of those things where it's essentially just like cloning itself by laying an egg to continue.
Parthenogenesis. It would be
we don't know either if this is the same Titan, if this is the same exact Titan X that's been wandering for thousands of
centuries.
years, or if it's like one that it has a certain life cycle that it lives out and dies. But we know Titans live a long time. I don't know. Right. Godzilla is millennia old, I think, is the impressions that I get.
Especially if they spend time in Access Mundi, where time runs differently.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know and I don't think we get a clear answer either way by the end of the season either. So that is an interesting open mystery that Titans seem to not really have an expiration date, or at least they have a very, it's a very late one comparatively, which is interesting because usually big creatures don't live as long because of the amount of resources and they require. So
it's interesting how much of the facts, the statistics about Titans is still mystery. Like they're really hard to kill. For instance, you can nuke them and they survive. Apparently Godzilla did. And
it makes them even more powerful sometimes.
Right, exactly. And then, right, where did they come from? How many are there? Where, there's lots of questions. Have they always been there? There's interesting questions. But I wonder if that parthenogenesis thing might be what we're looking at here, where it kind of reminds me of that Doctor Who, that terrible Doctor Who episode called Kill the Moon, where the moon was an egg.
Yeah.
And then the dragon came out, and I hated that. So mad when they got to the end of that stupid moon egg. Anyway, that's not what's going on here. So the Australian Parliament has asked America to nuke it, to nuke their country. It's an interesting tactic. Let's see how that plays out. And so at least Barris tries to talk them out of it. Like this is remember the last time? It's like, oh no, our bombs are much better this time. Are you sure? Are you really sure? Because especially since they're going to do it as a tactical nuke and try to contain the literal fallout, that means it's not going to be the most powerful kind of bomb. It's going to probably be not much more than the one that Bikini Atoll. I think it was Bikini, right?
Yeah.
Yep. So in any case, that he fails to convince the Secretary of Defense, and they're on Outpost 18. And that's when Keiko and Kate show up, and he's not happy to see them at all, apparently. And Kate is trying to convey the whole, like, Titan X is not a danger without saying, because I've mind melded with it. That's the bit that he would not like. And Tim kind of warns her against saying. So it is interesting how the episode gives us a shift in how we view Titan X. It's gone from being this threatening monster to now it's just a mother protecting its young. And I wondered, does that switch, does that reveal, does it earn any emotional weight, or is it just a gimmick that the writers are doing to kind of shift emotions and shift, have they, is it a natural consequence of the previous 7 episodes, in other words?
Yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense because Monarch, the organization, as kind of founded by Billy and Keiko and Shaw, was about studying the Titans. It wasn't about trying to kill them or control them, and creatures migrate for a reason. So I think it makes sense that it's like we haven't known that it was a mother trying to nest and lay an egg until now, and maybe it laid other eggs back in the other times that it migrated around, or maybe it didn't. Maybe we don't really know. But I think it makes sense that we're finally getting we understand its behavior and why it's migrating around.
Right
now, we don't necessarily know why it's not doing this in Axis Mundi. Do they lay the egg? Can they only lay the egg or out in the real world, or does it have to be, or like, is there a consequence to laying an egg within Axis Mundi? Because otherwise, why go out? But it's
probably more dangerous. There are more Titans there.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah. But now there's people that can take your eggs that have the technology too. So, now it's more dangerous, or it can be more dangerous here. So, yeah, I think it's a natural progression of, and it makes sense that they're unveiling the reason why Titan X is doing what it's doing.
Right.
And it's not humanizing the Titans, but it's at least giving some kind of sympathy for some of the Titans. Like we've kind of had a little bit of that with Godzilla in the movies, like in
Kong.
Especially Kong, because he's an ape and looks like us kind of. So yeah, I think
bad day.
Yeah, so I think it makes sense, and especially as the Keiko's or Kate's connection to it, also it makes sense as to why, maybe that's why it connects with women, because of the motherhood aspect. That because maybe that's why, I don't know.
Interesting. I agree that it kind of earns this, because it validates what Keiko and Billy were all about, which is that these are not monsters. They're just big animals, and they are like other big animals. And a big, a lion can do damage. An elephant can rampage, sharks, maybe the equivalent to, a shark, we have to kill it because it's a shark. It's just an animal, and animals react according to the way that their instinct and the way that they are in nature. And so you respect them, you give them the room and whatever. And I think that's what they're trying to say here with this, is that it's not rampaging around the world trying to destroy things. Kind of like, everyone is remembering how what were those, the Mutos. Yeah.
Mutos.
Yeah. They kind of rampaged across, the U.S., the Western U.S. And it's like, these terrible rampaging monsters. But no, this monster, as she points out, Titan X swam around the oceans for centuries without problem. Nobody noticed it apparently, but kind of big to miss. But also it's kind of scary looking. It's like even Godzilla, and maybe it's just because we're used to Godzilla, but Godzilla doesn't look scary. Weird. It looks like a guy in a rubber suit, actually, because that's what it was. It's not a monkey. And it's this weird tentacle thing. And we are programmed to have, visceral reactions to things with many tentacles and whatnot. And so I think we're predisposed to being put off by it and scared by it. And then suddenly we have this moment where it's like, no, it's just a mother trying to protect its young. And even when that moment where Kate is standing in front of it, and it raises its tentacle like it's going to smush her, and Kate ducks because, of course you duck, but it's not going to do any good. And then it's kind of saying something to her like, "Hey, I'm protecting something here. Don't threaten me." So I think that's an interesting moment there. Now let's switch to talk about Shaw for a little bit too, because Shaw is interesting here. He's got in his mind that the only thing we can do is we need to call on Godzilla to destroy Titan X, because there's no other way to do it. There's no other way to safeguard people. And it feels like Shaw's lost his way, maybe. because he was with Billy and Keiko. He was with them as they went around and they built up this idea of what Monarch is supposed to be. And it feels like he's kind of regressed somewhat. And I don't know why that is. But is he a tragic figure acting on old certainties about Titans, or is he turning into the show's real antagonist in this case? And, where's the line between prudence and preemptive violence is where we're at with this.
Yeah. I think it all kind of goes back to when Keiko was lost. That was kind of when a switch flipped for him, I think, of she's lost, and she was lost because of Titans. And then especially, and then he went into the Axis Mundi and came out, but he dealt with Titans there, and, I guess he didn't know at the time that Keiko was there, but then he remembered later because of the timey-wiminess of it. But he saw G-Day happen, and he saw, and he lost, he didn't necessarily lose people there, but so many people died in G-Day, and then, but then he lost, he lost Billy, to Kong. We don't know this. We don't know the story there. Like, because I think he came out after Billy was dead.
Billy died in like 70 something or other.
Yeah.
And
so
he came out in the 80s.
So he might blame Kong for that because of, I don't remember exactly what happens in that movie and why he died, but, he might blame Kong for that, for losing his best friend. And then, so he lost Keiko to the bug monsters or whatever they were, that he thinks she's dead. He lost Billy to Kong, and then everyone got lost to G-Day, and then, Hiroshi got killed by Titan X, although I think that was more accidental because I think it was the scarabs were severing the tentacle that they shot the drone out or whatever, and the tentacle just happened to land on Hiroshi. I don't think it was intentional it wasn't like it was
but still killed
rampage. Killed. So I think it's just that he's
as a result.
Yeah. So I think it's just that he's just angry at Titans, and he thinks they're like the only good Titan's a dead Titan. And he knows they can't really, he probably knows that they can't really kill Godzilla, but he knows that Godzilla seems to leave everybody alone unless there's a Titan rampaging around. And, but he's also kind of causing the problem by calling Godzilla to attack Titan X. So he's also kind of becoming part of the problem. It's kind of, he's, what is it? Is it the Nietzsche saying of if you stare at the abyss stares back at you, or something along those lines? Like be careful
of how long of staring into the abyss, because the abyss will stare back.
Or like, be careful of hunting monsters so that you don't become a monster. I don't. It's a similar idea. I don't know who said that, but so it's kind of I think it's one of those things. Like he's become what he hates, what he's hated, but he doesn't see it because he's. He just wants to save people's lives, but he's kind of going about it in a maybe not the best way.
Right. I feel like the switch flipped for him when Hiroshi died. That was when he after Hiroshi died and at the funeral is when he decided Titan X has to be killed, and the only way to do it is with another Titan.
Right.
With Godzilla. Interesting, especially considering where we're going with this season.
Yeah.
So we have the Keiko, Kentaro, Kate fly on the helicopter, and the worst helicopter pilots ever can't see a flock of birds in front of them. Like they literally fly into all the birds, and they crash there. Before we get to that, actually, I want to talk about some of the stuff that was on the ship because I kind of skipped over it. So they try to convince Barris to let them try to convince Titan X to leave the beach as a better solution. It's anything than dropping it. If you can avoid dropping a nuke, it's probably a good thing. In the conversation, they keep calling it he, which is a subtle writer's preparation of the audience for the twist. Because we don't know there's an egg yet. I just thought that was interesting. And then Kantaro drops the bomb, no pun intended, with May, that he went to Thailand with Isabel Simmons, and May is aghast. He's like, you did what? And he's like, hey, I don't answer to you. And, he's very kind of push off. He's like, he's holding her arm's length, and, hey, he got friend zoned. So, seems like a natural reaction. But he's apparently back to do something with his dad's stuff that was still on Outpost 18. Because we see him go into his dad's old room there and call Isabel and whatnot. So there's something, he's got something planned, clearly, going on there. So, and then we have in this discussion, I forget who actually says this. I wrote it down and I didn't write down who said it, but I think it's Tim. We're in the monster business, so any mistake is going to be huge. But you don't. Oh no, Billy said this, I think. But you don't back off. You learn from your mistakes and you do better. That was someone was saying that in this. And it's kind of true, right? You're dealing with monsters. If you make a mistake, it has big consequences. But that doesn't mean you don't try. And so, in any case, they fly to the Australian coast. May flies to asset management, which is apparently somewhere very close by. And
as we've established, time has, you can travel anywhere you need to at the speed of plot. So
yes, the tunnels go everywhere.
Yeah.
So they've crashed on the beach, and Keiko is going to try to distract Lee while Kate and Kintaro go confront Titan X. And Lee is very condescending toward Keiko in this scene. It's not the 1950s anymore. You missed G-Day. You don't know what it was like. And Keiko says, but Kate didn't miss G-Day. She was there, and you weren't. He wasn't there, right? So, he's kind of giving it back to him in that moment. I thought it was interesting. So when May confronts Brenda Holland, there's Holland tries to tell her that Isabel isn't working for her father. But she doesn't come right out and say it. She's subtly avoiding coming out and telling her, because I assume because she knows Monarch is listening. So she's trying to tell May something subtly without coming out and say it, I think, which is kind of interesting. So that was an interesting scene. All right. So we get back to the beach. Apparently Isabel's plan was originally to steal scarabs and lure Titan X with the scarabs because it's very attached to them. But an egg is better. And so that's the plan shifts at that point. Although Apex seems to be prepared for anything because they have a lifting cradle big enough for an egg. So Apex steals this egg during the Godzilla fight, and Titan X wants to chase, but Godzilla's like, I ain't done with you yet. And it makes you ask the question, if what Shaw did turns Titan X, which was apparently passive and just wanting to lay an egg, into a rampaging mother, what does that say about the Monsterverse's recurring argument that human management of nature creates the disaster it claims to prevent? It's like every time they try to control nature, like Apex did, it just ends up in disaster. And I think this is another case of it. And we're going to get more of it.
Yeah. And I mean, it's the old Jurassic Park thing of know, the more you try to control something, the more life finds a way to surprise you and to break free of that containment. And then we kind of see a natural consequence of this in King of the Monsters, when it's the organization that is basically like, let's let Titans loose and destroy it, basically let them do what they want to do without any, without us trying to stop them. Let them wreak havoc, destroy the world. Cause they are they're the ultimate rulers of the world. So humanity doesn't matter. So we see kind of the opposite of that in that movie. I forget what they're called, what that organization is called, but yeah, so we do see kind of a consequence of that, I think. And, I don't know if that's what kind of they're specifically going off here of like, let's show a build up to that or what, but
there's kind of a real world analog of that, which is the zero population people. Like they're climate folks, and they're worried about the climate, and their idea is we need to get to zero population. Humans should stop reproducing, and they're really intent on this. And it's like, okay, you go do that. that's your thing apparently. But it's this idea that we're not the rulers of nature. We are subject to nature, and our time is over or something. But this is a fairly common theme. And in fact, Michael Crichton, who wrote Jurassic Park, kind of came to it a few times, which is this idea of man's hubris. We think we've reached the pinnacle. We are at the top of the heap, and we rule the earth. And, nature every once in a while reminds us that we're not in charge. And by nature, it's often God, and in fact, that's really what it boils down to is it's the Tower of Babel again, over and over and over again. We build this Tower of Babel. We think we're in control. We think we can climb to the heavens, and God, or in the monsters or nature or whatever, comes along and says, nope, and swipes it out from under us again, and teaches us where we really are in the pecking order. So I think it's interesting that's a recurring theme within this show and in the whole Monsterverse, I think.
Yeah.
So let's see. So they've taken the egg. Kate now realizes that Kentaro has betrayed them, but she ends up separated from Keiko and Lee, and so she has to go with Apex or Isabel's people, whether they're Apex or not, and Kentaro, despite they've been separated by the battle, and that's when Trissa gets zapped by Godzilla as he's running. That's what bad guys always get their comeuppance.
Yeah.
So let's see if there's anything else to really talk about there. I had a couple other things, but do you have any other notes there? Yeah.
Yeah, not too much. Just checking. This was very much more. We've had a couple slow episodes and a couple setup episodes of. Yeah. We had, was it 2 episodes ago was Hiroshi's funeral.
Yeah.
Last episode was kind of the slower string theory episode. So this was kind of more of the straight, like, let's get to the action, because we are rapidly approaching the season finale.
Right.
So
when there's more action, there's less to really kind of dig into as much.
Right. Yeah. Nothing too much. Nothing. Yeah, I think we covered everything that I had.
All right. Well, we should wrap it up there then. We'd like to take a moment now to thank our patrons, make it possible for us to create The Secrets of Television, including Carrie B, Amy G, Adam S, Mike M, and Ben and Susie S. Their generous donations at GiveStarQuest.com make it possible for us to continue The Secrets of Television and all the shows at StarQuest, and you can join them by visiting GiveStarQuest.com. And so that's it from us this time. We'd love to know what you thought of this episode of Monarch, Separate Ways. Let us know by commenting on the show at sqpn.com/TV. Send us an email to tv@sqpn.com, or visit the StarQuest Discord community at sqpn.com/Discord. Until next time, Jeff Haecker, thank you for joining me and sharing the secrets of television.
Thanks, Dom.
And once again, I'm Dom Bettinelli. Thank you for listening to The Secrets of Television on StarQuest. Here's another show on the StarQuest network you're sure to enjoy. Let's Science. Find the show wherever fine podcasts are found or at sqpn.com/science.